In a quiet neighborhood, the Johnson family had built a life filled with love and laughter. Mark and Laura, along with their two children, Tommy and Lily, took pride in their cozy home. Every evening, they would gather in the living room for family game night, with popcorn and board games spread out on the floor. Their backyard was a sanctuary where they spent summer days barbecuing and playing catch with their golden retriever, Max. The Johnsons had lived in their house for nearly a decade, creating memories etched into its walls. They celebrated birthdays decorated with colorful balloons and enjoyed holiday feasts that brought friends and relatives together. The home had become a symbol of their unity, a place where each room echoed with giggles and shared stories. Neighbors often admired the Johnsons' garden, filled with vibrant flowers that Laura tended with care. Mark would offer help to others in the community whenever they needed it, connecting the residents through friendly gestures. The family exemplified what it meant to be part of a close-knit community. However, as they enjoyed their everyday life, little did they know that an unexpected tragedy loomed just around the corner. A single spark would soon ignite not only flames but also challenges that could test their family bond like never before. With their home as the heart of their lives, everything was about to change in an unimaginable way. One fateful evening, the Johnson family was preparing for another fun game night when a small electrical malfunction sparked in the kitchen. Laura had just put a batch of cookies in the oven when she noticed the flickering lights and a strange odor. Panicking, she called out to Mark, who rushed in to check the source of the smell. Within moments, thick smoke began pouring from behind the kitchen wall. Mark grabbed the children, telling them to stay calm and head outside. The four of them raced to the front door, their hearts pounding as fear pulsed through them. Outside, they watched in horror as flames erupted, engulfing their beloved home. Neighbors rushed over to help and called 911 while others tried to douse the fire with hoses from their yards, but it was too late. The fire spread rapidly, erasing everything they cherished, photos of family vacations, toys from childhood, and cherished keepsakes filled with memories. Standing on the grass, watching the inferno consume their home, the Johnsons felt an overwhelming sense of loss wash over them. As firefighters battled the blaze, Tommy clung tightly to Max while Lily sobbed quietly in her mother's arms. The world they once knew slipped away in mere minutes, leaving them helpless and heartbroken. By morning, all that remained was ash and charred debris, a painful reminder of everything they had lost, and they were left wondering what would come next. In the days following the fire, the Johnson family found themselves standing amidst the ruins of their former lives, unsure of what to do next. After some discussions and tears, they decided that moving into their RV would be the best temporary solution while they figured out how to rebuild their home. The RV, which had been used for weekend camping trips, now served as their makeshift shelter. Mark cleared out the driveway to park it close to the house, and they quickly transformed it into a cozy living space. They set up a small dining area with cushions and used the little kitchenette for simple meals. Every morning, Laura would brew coffee while the kids helped make toast. It wasn't ideal, but it offered a sense of normalcy during such chaotic times. As they settled into this new routine, they tried to maintain some semblance of family life. Game nights continued in their RV, albeit with fewer snacks and a different atmosphere. They huddled together on the couch, telling stories and leaning on each other for support amid the uncertainty. Nevertheless, not everyone in the neighborhood viewed their situation kindly. As Karen learned about their temporary parking arrangement, her dissatisfaction began brewing like a storm on the horizon. She saw their RV as an eyesore in her perfect community and was determined to take action against them, unaware of the unity and compassion that would soon arise from their struggles. Karen Thompson was well known in the neighborhood as a strict member of the Homeowners Association, HOA. With her clipboard always in hand, she patrolled the streets, ensuring that every lawn was perfectly manicured and every mailbox was painted according to the community's rules. She prided herself on maintaining the neighborhood's property values, often looking down on anything she deemed unsightly or out of place. When Karen first noticed the Johnsons' RV parked in their driveway, her disapproval flared immediately. To her, it was more than just a temporary home, it represented a violation of community standards. She couldn't stand the thought of a trailer disrupting the pristine appearance of their street. In her eyes, allowing the RV to remain would lower property values and invite chaos into their perfect neighborhood. Fueled by this conviction, Karen decided to take action. She drafted a formal complaint to the HOA, demanding that they cite the Johnsons for improper trailer storage. In her mind, this was not just about enforcing rules, it was about protecting their community from what she viewed as an eyesore. When Karen presented her complaint at the next HOA meeting, she spoke with passion and authority, unaware that her actions would soon spark a much larger conversation. As news of her complaint spread, it began to stir sympathy for the Johnson family, setting the stage for an unexpected turn of events in their tight-knit neighborhood. When Karen presented her complaint to the Homeowners Association, a tense atmosphere filled the room. The board members exchanged glances, unsure of how to respond. Some were sympathetic to Karen's concerns about property values and neighborhood standards, while others felt uneasy about the heart-wrenching situation the Johnson family was facing. As Karen passionately argued that the RV posed a threat to their community's image, the mood began to shift. One board member spoke up, recalling how the Johnsons had always been helpful and friendly neighbors. She reminded everyone of the tight-knit relationships they all shared and how the community had come together during past challenges. This prompted murmurs of agreement among others who remembered the family's kindness. Despite Karen's insistence on upholding the rules, many members started to feel that compassion should take precedence. They debated whether enforcing strict regulations was worth sacrificing support for a family in crisis. The emotions in the room ran high as stories surrounding the fire and its aftermath circulated among them. The board realized they had an opportunity to show unity and kindness in a time of need. In the end, rather than siding with Karen's complaint, the HOA decided to reach out to the Johnson family. They expressed understanding for their circumstances and offered assistance, including help in organizing community support. This decision marked a pivotal moment, one that showcased compassion over rigid adherence to rules, transforming the neighborhood's response from one of division to solidarity. As news of the Johnson family's situation began to spread, the community's perspective shifted dramatically. Neighbors who once may have simply walked by the RV now paused to inquire about the family's well-being, and many were shocked to learn of the devastating fire that had claimed their home. The revelation sparked a wave of empathy among residents who had previously been unaware of what the Johnsons were going through. Coffee shop conversations and school pickup lines quickly turned into discussions about how they could help. Local parents formed a small group on social media, sharing ideas about organizing a fundraiser to support the family in their time of need. Instead of viewing the RV as an eyesore, neighbors began seeing it as a symbol of resilience, a temporary shelter for a family trying to rebuild their lives. People from all around came forward with offers of assistance. Some neighbors brought meals, while others offered to help with rebuilding efforts or provided clothing and supplies for the children. On Saturday mornings, a few families would even gather outside the RV for coffee, sharing stories while helping to lift the Johnson spirits. As compassion spread throughout the neighborhood, Karen found herself increasingly isolated in her views. What she had seen as an opportunity to enforce rules had instead ignited a strong sense of community among everyone else. With every act of kindness shown to the Johnsons, it became clear that love and support would triumph over judgment and fear in their tight-knit neighborhood. Inspired by the unfolding events, the community rallied around the Johnson family like never before. Local parents, now fully aware of the family's loss, mobilized to create a fundraising event that would not only support the Johnsons but also bring everyone closer together. They decided to organize a community barbecue, inviting everyone to contribute in some way. Word spread quickly, and on the day of the event, the neighborhood park buzzed with excitement. Families brought home-cooked dishes, desserts, and drinks, filling tables with an array of delicious food. Children ran around playing games while adults gathered to share stories and laughter. It became more than just a fundraiser, it was a celebration of community spirit. A donation box sat prominently on a table, decorated with colorful signs encouraging generosity. Small businesses in the area also stepped up by donating food and supplies, eager to show their support for the Johnsons. A local band volunteered to play music, making the atmosphere lively and cheerful. As the day unfolded, contributions poured in from neighbors who hadn't initially known the Johnsons well. Many expressed regret for not having reached out sooner. By the end of the event, the community had raised an impressive amount of money for the family to help them begin rebuilding their lives. Amidst this heartfelt display of kindness, Karen observed from a distance, feeling increasingly isolated and at odds with a community that had clearly chosen compassion over strict adherence to rules. The barbecue had beautifully illustrated that even in times of hardship, love could unite them all. As the support for the Johnson family blossomed, Karen found herself on the outside looking in. Where she once felt empowered by her role in the homeowners association, she now sensed a growing backlash against her. Neighbors who had initially been neutral began to voice their discontent with her actions, expressing disappointment that she had prioritized rules over compassion during a time of crisis. At local gatherings, whispers filled the air when Karen entered a room. Conversations shifted abruptly as people exchanged knowing glances. Many were eager to share stories of how they had helped the Johnsons, reinforcing their unity while highlighting Karen's isolation. Even those who had previously supported her began to question whether her strict adherence to rules was truly in the community's best interest. During the next HOA board meeting, Karen prepared to defend her stance, but she was met with a wall of solidarity for the Johnson family. Members spoke passionately about the importance of kindness, and several board members expressed their regret over not standing up sooner against her complaint. As Karen listened to heartfelt anecdotes from neighbors about how the Johnsons had positively impacted their lives, she felt increasingly alienated. The barbecue event had transformed community dynamics, leaving her feeling like an intruder in what was once her domain. The warm embrace of support for the Johnsons stood in stark contrast to her rigid viewpoints, illustrating that love and understanding would always triumph over judgment and isolation. With every act of kindness toward the Johnsons, Karen's position weakened further, leaving her to grapple with the consequences of her choices. The day of the HOA board meeting arrived, and tension filled the room as community members gathered, their faces reflecting a mix of determination and concern. Karen sat at the front, clutching her clipboard as she prepared to present her case against the Johnsons' RV. But as the meeting commenced, it quickly became clear that the tide had turned against her. One by one, neighbors stood up to share their thoughts, passionately defending the Johnson family. They spoke about the warmth and kindness the Johnsons had always shown and how they had rallied around them during this difficult time. Stories of community support flooded in, illustrating how they had come together for fundraisers and offered help in any way they could. As the sentiments grew stronger, Karen felt increasingly uncomfortable. Her earlier confidence began to wane as voices rose in favor of compassion over rules. Several board members openly criticized her actions, suggesting that enforcing strict regulations during such a tragic time was not only unkind but also damaging to the community spirit they prided themselves on. When it was finally her turn to speak, Karen hesitated. The supportive murmurings and nods directed at one another filled the air, leaving her feeling isolated and vulnerable. As she attempted to defend her stance on property values, it became evident that her words fell flat against the backdrop of unity among her neighbors. The meeting concluded with a vote. It was unanimous in favor of supporting the Johnson family. As Karen left feeling defeated, she realized that what she had viewed as a pursuit of order had instead exposed her to a profound disconnection from the very community she sought to protect. With the generous funds raised by the community, the Johnson family began the process of rebuilding their home. They felt a renewed sense of hope as they worked with contractors to create a space that would not only replace what they had lost but also reflect their journey and resilience. The construction site became a symbol of their strength, with neighbors frequently stopping by to check on progress and offer encouragement. As the new house took shape, the Johnsons were overwhelmed with gratitude for the support they received. Mark and Laura often reflected on how their tragedy had brought forth such kindness from those around them, reminding them of the importance of community during difficult times. They envisioned inviting everyone over for a housewarming party once it was completed, eager to share their new beginning with the people who had lifted them up. Meanwhile, Karen was left to contemplate her actions and attitudes. Observing the transformation in neighborhood dynamics, she felt a growing sense of regret for how she had approached the situation. The warmth and unity displayed by her neighbors contrasted sharply with her earlier rigidity. It dawned on her that rules are important, but compassion should take precedence in times of hardship. Motivated by this realization, Karen reached out to the Johnson family with an apology and an offer to help with any remaining needs as they settled back into their new home. Though it was a small step, it marked the beginning of her journey toward rekindling connections within the community and embracing the lessons she had learned about kindness, empathy, and togetherness.